So today's September the 22nd, another Saturday, and I am Frosthaven with Warp Stage 3, and we're here with the Utility Man.
For real this
For
time.
real this time. It looks like he's celebrating Earth Day, doesn't it? He's got like the blue background going on and a minty green shirt.
But I always have a blue background.
Maybe. Maybe someday we'll have to show you how to cut that out and like do a crazy background behind you.
Well, see, unlike you guys, I couldn't get a green screen because I have too many green shirts. So we got a blue screen instead.
That moment when it's cheaper just to get a blue screen because you have too many green pieces of clothing, that's too good. Actually, before the show started today, I was wearing a green shirt. I had to change it out. I was like, "Where's my black shirt? It's the only one I know will work 100%." So, hello, Danny, Galaxy, Southern Songbird, Evil Mumu Chan, Dragon Mom Asura. Hello and welcome, everybody. And Danny, thank you for the 100 bits of Sounds Good. Southern Songbird bringing in the Twitch Prime subscription for 7 months. That's
7 months.
seven's a good number. Let's see if we can make it 8. Do you think we'll have to work hard to impress her, keep her coming back?
To impress aka Rachel, yes.
Yeah, probably.
Yes.
And then
I'm going to have to offer her some laundry detergent. Maybe she'll stick around.
Arcana was fiddling with OBS to get chat to fit, and then my voice freaked him out. Okay, because you were hosting us. Nice. So you were playing around with your Twitch channel, and then our host ran through for you and shocked and scared you. That works for me. Subbed for your 8th month, Danny. That's awesome. Doesn't give
Well,
you the
thank you
option.
as well.
You notice Danny's just trying to one up Rachel. That
I
one
know.
month.
I've been here a month longer than you.
Saw that 7 month from Rachel, and he's just like, no, this can't be. This can't happen. So
Well, it's a good thing that JD's already subbed because I think he has us all beat.
probably this is probably true. So what have you been up to this week, Utility Man? And while he's telling you what he's been up to, what have you guys in chat been up to?
You know, I've actually been putting in a lot of time on Enter the Gungeon since we've been streaming it on Mondays and
Are
Tuesdays.
you like a professional roguelite player now?
No, no, I'm still not very good at it. My only claim to fame is that I'm not the worst player on our stream.
Well, considering it's just you and Hidden Spike Trap, and
Oh,
considering she's asleep right now, this may
it's
be
a
your only
victory, I'll
chance.
take it.
This is like your only chance to vent about gaming now.
No, I do that on our stream. Why do you think I get hit so much?
This is true. You probably have like all sorts of police photo evidence of bruises along your side.
Yeah, why do you think I have one arm that slumps further than the other? She's beat it into
I thought you
submission.
were born that way.
No,
My right
no,
arm's a lot stronger
unfortunately.
than my left arm.
No, I hate to say that this is just a victim of circumstance because she always sits on that side of me.
So Enter the Gungeon. I mean, I really wanted to get into that game. How much is it again? Like $15, $16, or is it more?
Oh my gosh, I actually don't know because she bought it on her account,
I'm
not
gonna look it up.
mine.
Enter the Gungeon.
It's probably 15, but
It
I'd
seems
definitely
like a
say it's
fifteen
worth it.
dollar. Yeah, it seems like it'd be a $15 game, and it is
Yeah,
$15.
it's definitely worth it. It has been a really good game so far.
Does it have things like modding you could add to it? Like, does it have a mod community to keep it going?
To be honest, I haven't looked that up because it's taken us so long to actually beat the game. I'd had no need to explore further. We still have not unlocked everything. We've probably unlocked maybe 60% of the content, and we've been streaming it for well over a month.
Dragon Mom says there is mod the Gungeon. So you know you guys are gonna have to do that. If you need like
Yeah.
if you need the ferryman guide to get you into the modding scene, I will go through and pick out what would be good. Maybe we could do that. Maybe we could like get a list of mods for you, and then we'll have the community and Discord just vote on which ones to use on a stream. I think that might be fun.
Yeah, I mean, that is if we ever actually beat the game. Sure, we can do that.
So let's see what everyone else is up to. Danny's been playing Overcooked 2. You played a little bit of that, didn't you?
I played the first Overcooked with Hidden Spike Trap and Largo's pretty fun game. Although I would never hire Largo as a head chef. Never.
Danny with the sub, and it's only 7 months. Wow.
Ah, you can't say
Wow.
you beat Rachel now.
Yeah, now you can't one up Rachel, but what's worse is Rachel, Southern Songbird, actually got that 7 month sub a lot faster as well. Oh my god, Danny. I want to show you what just popped up on my screen. You ready?
I'm ready.
You see this? I received a gift.
Oh my gosh.
Enter the Gungeon from Danny. Thank you. I'm going to hit decline. No, I'm kidding. I will accept that. Thank you, Danny. Thank you so much for the gift. So now I've got another game with mods to like obsess over.
I think he's trying to bribe you to get his firstborn status back from Rachel.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it was. We were calling him out on it. He's like, I gotta make up for this. Let me get back on there. That's exactly what it was. So let's see what else is going on. Dragon Ball Masura, Final Fantasy 14 healing, beating Gungeon a lot, and then Killing Floor 2. See, I played Killing Floor 2 with quite a few of us actually in the community. It was me, JD, uh, Mila, Zaldbathar, and Trey.
That sounds right.
Yeah, and we were all playing that. See, I played Killing Floor 2 a lot back in the day, and then I dropped out. But it was an interesting experience to get back into the game. I actually enjoyed the game a lot. When it's got a team of people that I know, even though I'm not like hard moding it like I used to do. I used to play the game and just jump into harder settings with dedicated groups that like knew exactly what to do every step of the way. So it was like very cookie cutter, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But playing with the community has been so much more fun. It's probably the most fun I've had playing that game ever.
A lot of gaming experiences are best remembered by who you played with instead of the game itself.
That's what I'm hoping for 76. We had so much of a blast. I think the neighbors were probably getting upset with how loud I was laughing over half of the stuff we were doing. So
And you weren't streaming it?
and I wasn't streaming it. Yeah. So but I imagine if we do more of that, and I'm sure we'll do more, I'll probably get in the habit of streaming it. Just because if you guys heard some of the stuff we talk about, it would definitely have to be a mature stream.
Yeah, apparently Trey was talking about twerking.
Yes, out of
That's what Zald
context.
said.
Out of context, the way JD's keyboard sounded somehow equated to JD as twerking, which has pretty much ruined voice chat in the best and worst way simultaneously going forward.
So I'm just gonna say, when you said the way JD's, I'm glad keyboard was the word that followed that.
There was some loud thumping sounds. Thumping sounds.
Maybe we shouldn't stream that after all.
Yeah, maybe it's best like straight to DVD at the Walmart bin. It's still being produced. Pulling out the quotes with the bot, nice. And Danny, I will sub till the day I die. So what he needs to do is like DDoS Southern Songbird, so she falls a month behind. Don't do that though. Actually,
No, don't do that.
yeah, I'm watching you. I've got my eyes on you. I see what you're doing. So beyond playing games with the community, which is a blast, I've been playing Fallout 4, heavily modded. I'm getting to that point now. So in the base Fallout 4 game, on survival difficulty, when you hit around level 15 to 20, depending on how you're going, that's usually the point of no return where the game stops being hard at all. Like now you're good and you can just win.
15 to 20?
Yeah,
That seems kind of low.
It is kind of low, but it's just the way that Fallout games scale. The difficulty scaling, no matter what you have it set to, around level 15 or 20, you've got just enough perk points that like you can almost pretty much maximize your weapon damage. And if you know how to avoid getting hit and you get the first shot on enemies, the game's no longer hard and you've got massive damage that you're pumping out. So normally that's the scale, 15 to 20. Well, I've been playing incredibly modded using a Fallout New Vegas perk system along with a nerf patch. Yes, I'm the kind of guy that nerfs his own damage output to have a more fun game. I don't know if that sounds crazy to people out there, but Utility, I know you can understand that.
I can understand that. I'm the kind of person that would use the Game Genie code one hit deaths. So,
Oh, you kill them
I know.
first or they kill you first?
Yes.
That's yeah, a lot of people enjoy playing the game that way. So now with all the mods, the point of no return didn't hit until I was level 60. And now I've almost completed the entire vanilla game, haven't touched the DLC yet, but that feels a lot better. Getting to level 50 to 60, now I feel like there's nothing that can really challenge me. So that was a ton of fun.
That feels like about how long it should take, I would think.
It's how it should be, but Bethesda's always had issues with scaling Fallout games. I mean, I think Skyrim probably scales a lot better over the long term, difficulty wise, but Fallout games, it's always been that way. Like in the very early game, you do almost nothing in survival and it's hard as hell. And then by level 15, 20, no matter what difficulty, you're done. You're good.
Yeah, I see how well they've scaled 76. In fact, it's so well scaled that even the enemies can't attack you unless you say it's okay.
Slot mechanic for the enemies to engage in PvP. No, that's not actually what's happening, guys, but but I see why you would say that. I'm still excited for 76 though. There was a picture of a weapon. Let me see if I could find that real quick.
Okay.
Let's see. Fallout 76 guitar weapon. It's not an instrument though. It's not an instrument. It's actually just a sword, basically. Let's see if I can open image in new tab. Yeah, I could do it that way. All right, so this was the weapon that they revealed. I imagine it will probably do some kind of like audio when you swing it. I mean, why would it like if it's a guitar sword they have to add some kind of sound effect like brung or something, but what I found interesting about this, if you look under item stats on the left, and I don't see anyone talking about this, you see that CND condition?
Yeah.
It looks like they may be bringing back durability. So like you would have to repair your items, and I like that a lot. Fallout 4 doesn't have weapon durability at all. Like you get a gun, it doesn't break. Typically in Fallout 4 within the first 2 hours, I have the gun or weapon I'm going to use for most of the game.
Durability is one of those things that kind of divides the community. I see all the uproar it caused in Breath of the Wild. A lot of people hated that there was weapon durability, but I thought that was a good feature.
Well, I think it'll work in 76 specifically because there's such a big focus on scrap. Like even in PvP, if you kill someone, they drop scrap, and I
Yeah.
imagine that scrap is going to be used to repair your gear. So it gives it some kind of purpose. So I'm happy about that. I'm happy to see the return of some of these old systems because we've had so much news from 76 that even I was kind of like, as a Fallout fanboy, I was kind of like, I don't know. A potential return to durability is going to be some good news for me. So anyway, that's what I've been up to this week.
I don't know. Looking at that guitar weapon, and I feel like nobody's going to get this, but I'm going to mention it anyway. It reminds me of those old Quick Draw McGraw cartoons where he's El Kabong running around hitting people with a guitar.
How perfect would that be, though?
That would be amazing, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I want the mask and the cape to go with it, though.
I imagine there will be a lot of people running around with the name Johnny Guitar. It'll be kind of like when internet gaming first started getting big and everyone was like XX, Sephiroth, Cloud XX.
They still do that.
They still do that. Or what's the other
Like
one?
that's
SSJ for Super
yeah,
Saiyan.
yeah, XX, SSJ, Son Goku, X, yeah.
Yeah, if you ever show
They
up to our
still do
stream,
that.
if you have that name in Twitch and you show up in our stream, like you're just getting banned. Even if you like donate, Like if I see like 10,000 bits dropped and your name is like SSJ anything, you're gone. I'm sorry. There's some things even money can't buy.
Oh, that's right. Now they have Super Saiyan God, so I guess you can have SSGSS.
All right, Arcana's banned. I'm kidding, Arcana. You can stick around.
That would be a good start.
Yeah, so that's
Make
what
an example of him.
I'm tempted. I can't though. I actually feel bad. I've been working on some physical soldering of circuitry for Arcana, and it turns out the project that I was working on for him is not going to work out. It was an extension for like a slot on his motherboard, so that he could hook up his USB 3 stuff. Or apparently, it's like really cramped inside of his computer. So I was just gonna cut the board to bits and solder wires on it myself, but it's not going as planned. So because of that, I'll let him stay for this.
You did realize it might not work out before chopping the board up, right?
Yeah. It was
Okay.
up in the air. Like this is going to be a crazy custom job. I mean, I might still be able to get it to work, but it's going to be a lot more fiddly. I've been on and off with this thing for like a month now, so it's
See, I could just imagine this as like a surgical process. You get the guy cut open, blood going everywhere. You look at it, it's like, you know what? This idea of mine won't work.
yeah. You expect like
Hmm.
laser surgery, but it's actually just the game of operation with nothing but buzzing.
I could not play that game. I could not because even though I knew it was just going to be a little buzz if you touched the thing, it's always going to make my hand shake.
Wow, like some
I
kind
know
of
that's the
coked up
point, but
druggie. But I liked Operation though as a kid. I was okay at that game. I could play a game for days.
oh, I like it. I'm just not any good at it.
I just imagine you like doing this, trying so hard, just shaking so bad you're knocking the entire thing off the table.
It's the same thing with Jenga. I cannot play games like that. I'm more of a sorry or a life type player. Something that you can really screw other people over in. That's my forte.
So if there's ever a bomb threat and they see you come through the door with the SWAT uniform, like they know, just leave. just leave. All right, which wire do I cut? Sweat going down the face.
Yeah, I think that would be the second worst job ever for me.
Wait, what would be the first worst job?
Retail, the worst job for everyone.
So you would rather blow yourself? Okay, you know what? Actually, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you. 100%. All right, so we got some topics today. We got a little bit more on the docket than we usually do, but some of these topics are pretty quick going.
Mhm.
So we'll just shoot through them. We're gonna start off with YouTube gaming. Now, a lot of people online are trying to say this is like the death of YouTube gaming. That's probably how you heard it framed, yeah?
Pretty much. In fact, that's exactly how they mentioned it.
But it isn't actually a death. I understand why people think that because Google does a lot of projects that just die off. They have so many tried and failed projects over time. It's kind of ridiculous. I don't know if you guys, if anyone in chat uses YouTube gaming, let me know. I feel bad for anyone that does at this point. But what's actually happening is so gaming.youtube.com isn't going to be a thing to watch game streams anymore.
Hmm.
And all the features are being that people used are being rolled into the original YouTube package. So it's not really like the death of gaming YouTube, right? It's they're just integrating what worked into the main YouTube. And I think having been somebody who jumped on YouTube gaming in the very beginning just to try to ride like that wave and be one of the
Yeah.
first, that's kind of how I felt they should have done it in the beginning anyways. It's gaming YouTube to me was really more of just a different window to the YouTube platform. Like for instance, if you went to somebody streaming on YouTube, it didn't matter what they were streaming. You could go to the URL and change it from www to gaming.youtube.com/whatever,
Yeah.
and it would still show their stream. It was literally just a second page to show the same screen.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't used it since we stopped streaming on there. I had no need because I
Oh, you're
didn't see
kind of
anything special with
staticky.
it.
You're kind of
Oh,
static.
am I?
Yeah, I'll let you
Hold
fix
on.
that. Yeah. Welcome back.
I did not mean disconnect from the call, but I hope that fixed it.
It did. It did fix it. Actually,
Yeah, that I did not mean to click that.
I think
Um,
the only feature that gaming YouTube had that I wished was in Twitch, but in retrospect I didn't care about, is the live DVR. So if you were streaming on gaming YouTube and you thought you missed something, you could actually click back and rewatch the part you missed.
I did actually like that. I don't know why Twitch doesn't have that as a feature. That's also an issue when you go to make clips on Twitch. It only lets you go back like a minute or so.
Yeah.
So if you're watching something entertaining and you want to clip it, you have to wait till it's over. But then if it's been too long, you can't go back and get it.
Have to have like a notepad writing down times.
Oh, I've done that. It is kind of annoying. I don't know why they do it that way. I assume it has something to do with the way they present the stream afterwards as the VODs, but that's just a guess.
Danny says YouTube gaming sucks. Dragon Mom Asura says super chat was neat. So I want to talk about chat actually. I don't know if you guys know this, the way that chat works in Twitch and the way it works in YouTube. When they launched YouTube gaming, I'm the software engineer guy. I like to go in and add features to services to increase the value. That's like my specialty. Twitch, it was super easy. Twitch uses the IRC chat framework. So
Okay.
it's really easy as a developer to go in and make bots and see what people are saying and do basically any kind of operations you want on chat. YouTube does not use something like IRC. In fact, YouTube makes it so hard as a developer to see chat, it's almost not even worth doing. So the way YouTube does it, as a developer, I can't just make a program that says, okay, tap into chat and see what people are saying. That would make too much sense. Instead, to see the chat, for your program to see the chat, your program has to initiate and start the stream of sending packets of data to the live stream. So it's something we've never done. The most we've done is like style sheet customizations of it.
Yeah.
Because if your program didn't start the stream, your program could not see chat initially. That may, now don't quote me, it may have changed since then, but at least back when gaming YouTube was first out, that was the case. And it was like ridiculous to try to get any kind of chat monitoring at all going in there.
Although I would like to point out, back when YouTube Gaming came out, one of the biggest flaws with Twitch Gaming was the fact that chat took so long to update on the stream.
Oh, yeah, this is true.
Then YouTube Gaming came out and chat updated within like 5 to 10 seconds, which was much faster than Twitch. But since then, Twitch has come up to speed.
Yeah, Twitch introduced the features to increase, and see, that was the other thing back when gaming YouTube first came out, is I was thinking in my mind, Twitch, especially since Amazon basically owns it now, Twitch had all the capability in the world to just watch YouTube gaming down there trying to do a streaming thing and say, they're doing this one feature that seems to be really well. Let's just throw some devs on it and do that same feature. Like they could hold their stronghold over that. Like, oh, it looks like people are trying to use YouTube gaming because of faster response on chats popping up on the screen. Okay, let's put in a feature. Devs, get to work on that, and they did. Like, Google couldn't really offer anything above what Amazon could already do on the platform because Google was playing from behind. They were at the bottom of the hill, while Twitch was on the top of the hill for stream information.
You'd think that would have been an obvious feature that people would want, because that was one of my biggest gripes when we first started using Twitch. I hated the fact that sometimes chat would take 20 seconds to pop up.
Yeah, but the other thing to consider is competition. As you know, whenever there's competition, it's only the end users that really win.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that makes me sad about seeing the marketed name of gaming YouTube going down is it even though they're not really losing a lot, it's the optics of it now there's not going to be that huge push to have to compete with another service. So those little improvements here and there that we liked, like the increase in chat speed, there's not going to be the same red alert importance
Mhm.
put on getting them into the system.
Yeah, I think we've all seen how monopolies can ruin things. Anyone remembers how Blockbuster Video did things, and then right after it, how Redbox is kind of starting to go downhill.
Or we could just
Yeah,
even broadly gesture at the internet service cartels here in America.
that too.
Yeah, you want to talk about regioned monopolies. Internet service is probably one of the bigger ones. They need more competition.
Yeah, whatever happened to competing for the lowest price? They seem like oil companies. They're competing for the highest price. That's
Well,
not how it should be.
well, they can, like we've
Oh
said
yeah.
before, like all the internet cartels basically have like their turf, and no one else
Mhm.
really goes in and fights them. And in exchange, they don't go into those areas that other cartels, internet cartels, own, and so they all get to have their own regions and just run prices however they want. You don't run into
Unfortunately.
that overseas. Like overseas, years ago when I was in Australia, I was just paying like $10-$20 a month for internet because they have like 50 to choose from.
That's pretty good. I assume you had unlimited. I mean,
Yep.
okay, so was bandwidth limiting even a thing there?
Well, to be fair, I don't think bandwidth limiting was even a thing at all, like globally back then. Like bandwidth limiting only came up after the advent of like 4K started coming out.
Better times, better times.
Yeah. Now, as for what gaming YouTube's actually going to lose, it's losing like the main shell, which is all it was anyways. It was a different way to look at already existing YouTube content.
Yeah,
Uh,
basically.
for instance, Danny, perfect example. Super Chat and DVR functions on normal YouTube streams. That's not exclusive to YouTube gaming, I don't think. And you'd be right. Most of the good features on YouTube gaming, they just added to the original YouTube offering. So for all intents and purposes, gaming.youtube.com was like if you wanted YouTube dark mode. that was basically it.
Yeah.
Um,
It seems like well, obviously, they initially wanted to be competition for Twitch, and now it's like, well, we can't beat them, so let's just kind of roll this back into our main features.
yeah, yeah, and I mean the Verge kind of talks about the issues that they have with the app because they had like a specific app for the gaming YouTube rather than the
Yeah.
regular, and it does have some usability changes that you would expect on a game streaming service, like your favorite games list. You click on a game, but I mean, did you even use that? Like, did you ever go to gamingyoutube.com and click on games?
No. Like, again, when we were streaming on YouTube gaming, I used it, and then when we moved over to Twitch because they had improved so much, I just used Twitch now. I never went back to YouTube gaming.
It's unfortunate that they didn't come out of the gate with the basic features. Like that was one of the big problems was their adoption rate. Like they had the initial wave of hype like hey, something new and shiny, let's check this out. But then the problem they ran into was they announced a competing service but didn't offer the same feature sets. Especially when it came to chat and moderation on launch. It was horrible on gaming YouTube. And so they came out of the gate with a slightly worse product than what they were competing against. And you can't do that because it's so much harder to play from behind than at least even keel with each other.
It is, though, kind of like you. I think a lot of streamers kind of rushed over there to be one of the first ones and try to grab that audience. We'll probably see that on any more streaming formats that come out, but yeah, Twitch has kind of solidified their first place right now. I think it'll be a while before anyone actually challenges them.
So
But
with the app, with it being You could see how it was so confusing to everybody. It was like gaming YouTube app, and both of them kind of access the same exact information, realistically, with some like user interface bells and whistles thrown on. Wasn't enough to have a separate app for it.
Yeah, I've only used the app one time. I don't have a smartphone, so
So I think they did. I actually agree with this change that they've made to integrate it all into YouTube, because another part of it is the expectation of the user and historical expectation in particular. YouTube is expected to be the end all be all on demand video and archiving solution for videos.
yeah, they do a good job with that.
And then Twitch, on the other side, is expected to be the end all be all streaming solution for live content. And so these historical expectations, I think, played a big part in how gaming YouTube maybe didn't hit the marks they were hoping for as well.
You know, it's actually interesting that you mention it that way because when I had started to upload our streams to YouTube, one of the main things I did was I went into some of the more popular streamers on Twitch and see how they went about it. And strangely enough, not many of them actually do upload their stuff to YouTube. It's like they don't even want to deal with YouTube at all.
Danny says, personally, I hated YouTube gaming, was that it just sucked for me. Live streams lagged really bad and the chat was harder to follow or something. Never gave it another chance. So the chat is definitely an issue. The actual streams always lagging. One thing to consider, and again, this may be different now, but at least at the time, with Twitch, you have a main data farm server in basically all major populated areas. So if I'm in Florida and I go to Twitch, I'm going through like the Miami server, I believe. With Google and YouTube, I believe it all has to do a round trip from Silicon Valley and back. So without having the servers kind of everywhere to choose from, that means that your service is either going to be really good or really bad and no way of going in between. I will say, though, currently, on my current phone in present day time in 2018, YouTube videos and streams play smoothly, but Twitch actually buffers to no end on the mobile app for me. That may just be a case of my phone or where I'm trying to stream from, but interesting to see how it works differently for different people.
I don't remember having any streaming issues on YouTube. In fact, actually, one issue that I have on Twitch that I never had on YouTube was sometimes when I'm watching a stream on Twitch, it'll just slowly get further and further behind whatever point the streamer's at.
Yeah,
And I've never had that problem on YouTube.
I find myself having to like refresh every now and then.
Yep, I
Hope
do the same thing.
I'm hoping they can get that worked out, but I'm happy to see YouTube rolling this all into just the YouTube product. I think it was dumb to have a second pair of pants for the same uniform.
It it was a nice experiment, but yeah, it's nice to well, nicer to see it all be one big thing.
The best part about YouTube gaming was literally, in my mind, the best part about YouTube gaming was to put fire under the devs at Twitch to make them make better features. Like, that was
I
it.
can agree with that.
So YouTube was like the wrench that made Twitch better.
Well, again, competition. Competition is good for the consumer.
Yep. And then, of course, the other elephant in the room that probably hurt YouTube a lot more is Content ID.
We could probably discuss that for the entire show if we go on that segment.
I'm just gonna make it really simple. Content ID caused a lot of problems with people streaming games with sound, and YouTube just throws the hammer down on that kind of stuff. Twitch, you only have to worry about past broadcasts being muted. Now, I'm sure that'll change. At the end of the day, copyrights and all of that, it's going to get into Twitch into the extreme.
Yeah.
Danny says, a problem I have with Twitch app is that when I leave the app, it 50/50 pops out like I tell it, or just quits the stream. I've run into the same thing. On YouTube with Red, It plays background flawlessly. Doesn't pop out, so I can't see the video, but audio works way better on background play. I've run into that as well. On Twitch, I find myself, especially if I want it to be backgrounded or popped out, leaving the app. You're right. It's like a coin flip if it works or not, and then you have to go out of your way to relaunch it, close it until it works. So hopefully that's something they'll work on. I think maybe there's less of a push for it now that there's no competition again.
Probably.
Yeah. Now, do you remember? You remember Own3D.tv, like way back in the day?
I actually do, yes.
Do you know why they failed?
Actually, no. I can't say it's something I used very often, but I know what it is.
Like back in the day of Hotshot GG playing League of Legends, Own3D.tv. That was like the golden age, man. But they blew up a lot faster than they expected, and they were not able to scale financially. And then on top of that, that's when HD streaming first landed afterwards. So then they had to have more bandwidth, which costs more money that they didn't have. And there was a lot of rumors that they were potentially not even able to pay the content creators the money that they had promised. And so they went under. Basically, that's one of the main reasons you don't see a lot of popular alternatives. You'll find some like niche streaming services out there, but nothing super popular because the cost of running one almost has to be supplemented by a larger company that can carry it through slow times.
You know, that has to be one of the most depressing reasons to fail. I failed because I succeeded too fast.
Yep, that's exactly what happened too. It's unfortunate.
It's terrible.
So let's see. I think that's it for the YouTube gaming. Did you have any final remarks? I'm just going to say rest in peace, but I'm getting dark mode on YouTube, so I don't feel like I'm losing anything. Whatever.
That's the only thing I really care about. I mean, again, now that Twitch has kind of come up to par with the chat features, there's nothing I really care about from YouTube gaming other than dark mode.
Fair enough. So we can move on to the game studio shutdowns. Man, it's just one good news piece after the other today, isn't it?
Well, I mean, YouTube gaming shutting down isn't bad because YouTube gaming shutting down. It's bad because less competition. Whereas this is actually bad because they're shutting down.
So what's probably on the forefront of everyone's minds, and it's like being slammed all across the internet, is the death of Telltale games. Did you ever play any of the Telltale games?
I actually have not. I came across this topic 2 days ago, was it maybe?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know these games. Like I know what they are, but I can't really have an attachment to the company without knowing their product that well.
So Telltale Games did a really interesting marketing practice. They seem to attach themselves to really popular IPs like Game of Thrones or Minecraft, or probably what they're most well known for is the Walking Dead series they did.
Yeah.
And they would attach to these already successful IPs, kind of like chasing them by the coattails, and then supplying a really good story driven by buggy gameplay.
So a much better version of LJN, basically.
Basically. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Gotcha.
basically it. So they had their own stories, like in The Walking Dead, you had Clementine as one of the main characters, and it had its own thing aside from the TV series that was so popular. But I think that's one of the reasons Telltale actually did really well is they attached like a symbiote to the right IPs.
Okay, so I'm going to make myself seem old a second time. We're not talking about like the old song Huckleberry Hound used to sing, are we? Oh, my darling Clementine. Like that.
Well, I mean, a lot goes into a name, especially because their narrative team is so good. It wouldn't surprise me if they chose Clementine specifically because of the first things that come to your mind. Like that's it's true. Like a lot goes into a name, especially in narrative teams. So they had really good narrative, but one of the troubles they had was they weren't really interested in trying something new. They kind of stuck with the same framework. They even had their own Telltale game engine for it, and so what you saw over time was that they just really weren't getting the return they were hoping for, and they were keeping everything pretty much same. In fact, a year and a half ago, one of the co-founders, Kevin Brunner, actually left because of disagreements with the board of directors. And I mean, at this point, he's done a big blog post about how it's sad to see it go and a good part of his memory and all that. But I almost feel like there's a part that he'll never say publicly that's like going, I told you, I told you, I told you, you should have listened, you should have listened.
I think that's kind of the hardest thing when you predict a potential failure and you don't want to sound like an asshole afterwards.
Yeah. Now,
Yeah.
Telltale is another case of something you mentioned earlier, getting too big for your britches, growing too
Mm.
quickly. So in November of 2017, they had a 90 developer layoff, which is a fourth of their staff. And this was amidst rumors of being constantly overworked with toxic management and creative stagnation, which goes back to what Kevin Brunner was arguing with the board of directors about. So they saw that they weren't changing the formula enough to adapt to what players were expecting.
Hmm.
And then they were working ridiculous 18-hour days. Sound familiar, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't done it personally, but I know someone who has.
Yeah, I feel bad for that one individual that had.
Hmm.
But so you even had Brandon Sibenka, Sibenka, put out a tweet. None of my sleepless nights or long hours on weekends trying to ship a game on time got me severance pay. This guy did not get severance pay. Don't work overtime unless you're paid for it, y'all. Protect your health. Companies don't care about you.
Yeah, I can say that's definitely true from the places that I've worked.
Yep. And I wish I didn't understand that tweet for what it was, but I totally get it. I've been in that position of having to work ridiculous amounts of hours with like no thanks for it. And I mean, it sounds like with the rumors, and again, this is all just rumors, there's nothing 100% confirmed, and these are problems that are in the gaming industry at large about mismanagement, mistreating of the developers. Developers are kind of like the cogs in the machine, and that's all they are, just disposable.
Pretty
This
much.
is this is pretty much all over the place, right? Like this is common, and that's what's been given the attribution is the mismanagement and the case of outscaling what their management team was actually capable of doing.
Yeah, I think we had talked about something like that a few weeks ago. Poor management leads to workers' unions, which leads to poor management, it's a vicious cycle until it collapses.
In fact, I think the very first toilet that was ever made was modeled after poor management. And then
I think I've seen that toilet at a gas station somewhere.
probably somewhere out west, probably where Southern Songbird lives.
Texas? Yeah, that could be. I did live in Texas for a year.
And
All my life.
it's sad to see them go specifically because of the narrative team who did such a great job. But if I'm being honest with you, I kind of side with what the general consensus is. I'd rather see these talented narrative people make their way into the gaming industry and disperse out, because I feel like one of the things the gaming industry is lacking by and large is good storytelling. In fact, most companies these days are just saying we don't care at all about story or lore. We're just going to give your character enough reason to be where they're at and you go from there. You know, with 76 completely removing the lore.
Yeah. Feeling like people don't care about story is why we got Paper Mario Sticker Star, which is the worst game of the series and one of the worst games I've ever played. So, yeah.
So maybe with these Telltale teams going out into the greater market, maybe we'll see somebody pick them up and have better storytelling in large. Maybe not. Maybe it'll just be like skipping a pebble across an ocean, but one can hope. The optimistic side of me wants to see these guys get back on their feet, recover from losing a job, recover from not having severance pay, get back out there in the industry and do really amazing things for companies that maybe lack the story.
See, that kind of worries me because when you mention a lot of game companies don't care about stories these days, there's less and less room for talented writers. So it's probably going to be pretty difficult for them to find a good position, even if they're talented.
I'll tell you where they could go. If you're a Telltale narrative team member and you're looking for places to go, I say go to Bethesda because they are the one studio that, at the very least, has very marked roadmap plans in the future for story strong games like Fallout 5 or the next Skyrim that's coming out. Either Bethesda or CD Projekt Red. Probably the only two studios. It's the only two that come to my mind that still see the value in single player stories.
I mean, you could always go to Square Enix and try to fix Final Fantasy. That would be nice.
Good old Squeenix. I don't know. I've given up on Final Fantasy. Don't rescue that. Just let it go to the sideline.
But you were so interested in Maxima with the chibis.
This is true.
See, you were going to get that.
The little chibis. Oh my god. That thing cracked me up, and I don't know why. So speaking of games that went to the wayside, anyone here ever play a Dead Rising game?
No, but again, I know what they are.
I played the first and second Dead Rising. The second Dead Rising was ridiculously fun. Dead Rising 2. So you know, Dragon Ball Masura, you know how good Dead Rising 2 was then. I loved the hell out of that game. And for you, Utility Man, I'll just explain it this way. It was a horde zombie in a mall game, but it felt like a sandboxy kind of experience. You could kill the zombies in the most creative, ridiculous ways. Like, maybe you want to run a shopping cart through the mall as fast as possible and mow them over, and you can create really interesting weapons.
Wait. This is the series Frank West is from, isn't it?
There you go.
Okay, so I know that character because of Marvel vs. Capcom 3. So now I know what you're talking about, yes.
It was such a good game. In fact, it started. I'll just give you the timeline here. So it started out as Blue Castle Games, Canadian-based studio. In 2005, they started up. Here's something that's interesting for you. Many of the devs were ex-EA developers. So it just goes to show you, if you leave EA, you can do great things.
Well, yeah, but that's only because EA doesn't want you to do great things while you're with them.
Yeah, EA has the biggest case of their developers are just cogs in the machine and not human beings that have feelings.
Yeah, speaking of the topic we were just on.
No kidding. But Blue Castle Games was so good, they actually won an award for the best new video game company in 2008, the Ellen Awards.
Huh.
In fact, they were so good, in particular with their technology of being able to show so many zombies at once on the screen. They had an emulator that could like just blast your screen full of zombies. As you know, and we talked about in a previous Warp Stage, Warp Stage 3, we talked about crowd sizes being a technical limitation for these games. Like Assassin's Creed, for instance, had some interesting ways of overcoming that. Dead Rising, you could have a retarded number of zombies on the screen at the same time with no performance impact at all. It was a really interesting emulator, and that got the eye of Capcom. So that's why Capcom came to them and bought it. So it was no longer Blue Castle Games, but it became Capcom Vancouver.
That makes me think of the Warriors games, like the Orochi Warriors, Hyrule Warriors, where you're the one character with like hundreds of enemies on screen.
Yep, Dragon Ball
That kind
Masura
of
is
thing.
talking Dynasty Warriors too. Yeah, Dynasty
Yeah.
Warriors level of
Mhm.
zombies. Same thing. So the tech was really good. Capcom bought them out. But then came the downward spiral. So Dead Rising 2 was kind of at the peak back when I would say Dead Rising 2 came out at a great time. Everyone still was full steam ahead on zombie horde shooters and zombie horde games. Like we weren't quite as burnt out. Like these days, if you tell me you want to make a zombie game, I'm just like, really, zombies again?
You still see it in the indie scene. In fact, people still buy it in the indie scene.
I
So,
guess, but I'm so done with zombies. So Dead Rising 3 didn't do as well as Capcom expected, but it wasn't, the end of the world. And then Dead Rising 4 came out and it absolutely bombed. Dead Rising 4 only got 25% of the expected sales that Capcom had.
are we sure this is not just Capcom and not the game itself?
It's a good question, isn't it? Because, I mean, I don't want to make any claims, but what's interesting is Blue Castle Games, Dead Rising 1, pretty okay. Dead Rising 2, rising star in games. Capcom buys them. Dead Rising 3, Dead Rising 4, So it's up in the air. Is it because something to do with Capcom, which I'm sure there's a conspiracy to be discussed there, or do you think it's because people were getting burnt out on zombie horde games and maybe they needed to do a different kind of game?
Well, again, considering I still see them selling on indie, and considering how I see Capcom's other IPs have been going lately, it really makes me feel like it's Capcom.
So
I mean, I hate to say that because growing up in the NES, SNES era, Capcom was one of my favorite game companies, but they're not the same anymore.
so here's a piece of information that you might find interesting then. After Dead Rising 4 released and before the information on sales really became hardened and understood, a lot of the developers left, like right after.
Yeah, I'm going to say that had nothing to do with the fact that it was another zombie game.
Okay, all right. And then, of course, because the developers all left, Puzzle Fighter ended up with like an 8-month lifespan on mobile.
Oh, Puzzle Fighter. You know, that really the original Puzzle Fighter actually wasn't a bad game. It was somewhat fun, but the new mobile thing that I saw, I didn't even want to touch that.
I don't know. I feel like there's room for a competition, but I don't think Puzzle Fighter is really all that well marketed. I mean, if you've got games like Candy Crush just killing it on mobile, surely there's room for a Puzzle Fighter.
Well, the I guess the claim to Puzzle Fighter was always our characters. People see the Street Fighter characters or Darkstalkers characters, and I guess they feel like they'll buy it just because of that. Which, again, it's not a bad game, but it is a very simple game, and that market has kind of been done more than zombies, I think.
I will say, I think what Capcom should do in the realm of zombies, if they're going to have zombies, I think they should really bank more on the Resident Evil 7 style, where it's not necessarily a horde comical zombie killer sandbox, but like a story driven, creepy experience, kind of like the Silent Hills demo we talked about, the PT.
Yeah, I remember that.
I think there's still a huge market for that kind of zombie game. I don't necessarily want to see Capcom work on more Dead Risings. I feel like Dead Rising is a game series that is probably best left as is right now. Just let that cool off for a generation or so, maybe come back to it way down the line. But I think it's good to shelve it for now. What do you think?
I mean, that's probably a good idea. There's only so much that you can do the same thing over and over again before you get tired of it. So I understand that.
All right, so rest in peace, Telltale Games. I know you're going to be missed. Everyone wanted to see the conclusion of the story with Clementine. Rest in
I
peace,
know
anyone.
JD did.
Yeah, JD actually pre-ordered, I think, some stuff from Telltale, which is being refunded now. And rest in peace, Capcom Vancouver. I'll tell you the biggest thing that bothers me about it is I feel so terrible for the developers, the cogs in the machine that make it all run and work, because now you've got all these people that are probably fairly talented and well experienced that are without a job and looking for work in an already hostile environment of game development. Like in 2018, we now have a games industry that if you're not indie and working ridiculous hours, you're working for a company that hates you in most cases.
I mean, it is really sad to think about that a lot of talented workers aren't going to have spots when so many not talented workers do. Not anyone in particular, just we do have those companies where nothing goes right and yet somehow they're still in business.
This is true, but it'll only be a matter of time before EA buys them out and then fires all the staff.
I was trying to be discreet. How did you know?
Yeah, I mean, Capcom has definitely made some stumbles, Infinite.
Oh my gosh. I wasn't going to mention it this time yet.
But I will say I think Capcom is actually going to be doing okay going forward. Maybe later on we could revisit that when you cover some of your topics. I know Mega Man in particular I can't wait to get to. But speaking about your topics, do you want to tell us what you know about this Switch Online library?
So we went through the Nintendo Direct last week, and Switch's Online seemed really, really bad to most of us here, I think.
But they had, was it the Switch Online that had the multiplayer online?
It does have multiplayer online, but all onlines have multiplayer online.
But specifically with the classic games?
The NES games, yes, they do.
Like that would have been the one reason it was worth it for me. But your facial expression has me worried. So tell me a little bit.
Well, it's actually kind of funny, and I'm gonna link you this real quick.
Is it like haha funny or aw funny?
It's haha funny, at least to me. Just how quickly this happened.
Oh, okay. So I see you got a link for me.
This is just a joke at this point.
Nintendo Switch Online NES emulator.
Less than 24 hours.
Oh man. Well, I mean, Nintendo's kind of new to this whole online thing. I guess they're getting that welcome to the real world moment in real time.
Oh, does it show? Can you tell they're new?
So what's the story here? It hasn't been a single day since the Nintendo Switch online service launched, but hackers have already managed to get into the service's NES emulator. In fact, they've already figured out how to replace NES games and add in new ones.
Yes. So essentially, you don't even need the NES service anymore. You don't have to wait for them to come out with new games. You can just get your own.
Wow. So the Nintendo Switch's emulator is a port of the NES Classic Edition emulator that already exists.
Yes, they went complete lazy mode on this.
Hold on. So let me just reiterate this. I want to be very clear to the audience. The Nintendo online library for classic games is running a modified version of an emulator you could download for the PC right now.
Yes.
You know what?
This is what we're paying for.
So here's where I see a big problem with this for Nintendo. You know how they are very against anyone using their property in any way other than what they deem fit. Yeah. They're going to have a really hard time fighting against people that want to emulate their games now. It's like, what do you mean we can't? You're doing it.
Oh, I know. And I've been wondering if this is why they have been so focused on taking down ROM sites lately, because they knew about this potential issue and didn't feel like fixing it. I mean, this is really pathetic to see. So, it was already bad enough last week when we knew we were paying for a bunch of stuff we didn't want, but now the truth has come out that we're just repaying for what they already did with the NES Classic.
So it looks like this popular hack, as far as adding your own games to it, it may not so much be a vulnerability as it is just a program method that Nintendo added to so that they could add more games to the library. So it's not like a huge exploit, but even still, what it means is you could just download and play whatever classic NES game you want, or maybe even make one and play that online.
Yeah, pretty much. It is again. It's because Nintendo took the lazy approach instead of redoing the entire system. Let's use a system that's already been hacked once because everybody's doing this with the NES Classic. Everybody was modding theirs to have 500 or so games on it.
So
So
this would be the very first time we could see Nintendo really getting behind a fan project.
oh my gosh.
Oh man.
It's amazing to me. I didn't think this online service could get worse, but I mean, I guess your definition of worse may vary because if you have the online service, you can do this.
Right. This is
But
to me this is good news because it means I'm not limited by the games that Nintendo wants to feed me every morning.
I mean, that is true, though again, I can't help but look back at the PSP and how it became popular because of the things you weren't meant to do on it.
I wonder what the fallout from this is going to be. Do you think Nintendo being so protective of their IP, do you think that they're going to like push out some updates that can detect if you're doing something like this and ban your online account? Like how likely is it that they would do that? They can if
I
they
mean,
want.
it is possible for them to do something like that. Again, I don't know how they would be able to go about doing that very easily, given the fact that, again, this is the same system the NES Classic used, and modders and hackers already have a lot of experience with it. But the way Nintendo goes about it, they don't ban your account per se, they ban your Switch. Like, that Switch cannot go online anymore.
Wow. Okay, yeah. If they were to go that route, I would be severely disappointed to force you to have to buy a new Switch just to go online. That's horrible. Evil Mumu Chan says maybe they can do it depending whether or not it's in their terms of service. I think the general Nintendo product terms of service pretty much blanket covers so that they could do whatever they want, right? Like I'm
I
sure their
mean,
lawyers could find a way to say this particular phrasing about not using our IP in an whatever way. Like the lawyers would have a case regardless. Like
yeah.
that's how these terms of services are typically worded. They're worded specifically to be open-ended enough to protect against unseen attacks.
It is, though. I really think this is going to be difficult for them to fight because try as they might, they couldn't stop Wii hacking. They couldn't stop Wii U hacking. I don't think they're going to stop this either. They'll certainly give it a shot, but again, because that article mentions, because they made it so easy for themselves to add, it's
Hmm.
obviously going to be easy for everyone else.
So they took a shortcut, and instead of putting in their NES system, they put in a fan's creation of the NES system and edited it a little bit. That's so hilarious to me.
See, what's really going to make this difficult is your Switch only has to be connected to online one time every 7 days. So you technically could mod in a bunch of games, switch it to offline, play them for that week, remove them, then go back to online, and they'd never know.
There's got to be people out there who's already thinking about making software that can hide custom library entries or maybe even move them to a different part of the internal storage so that they're not detected by the system and then copy them back like just a switch, open this app, move files back and forth, maybe even
I wouldn't be
automate it.
surprised.
I'd say if you give it another year or two, you're probably going to see all sorts of one-click solutions to get around whatever Nintendo does.
Yeah, what I'm wondering though is anyone going to come out with a way to make it so that online is not required? Because if you can use this emulator without online play, then why do you even need Switch Online?
Or even bigger, they said they know that the emulator is based on the fan made one.
Hmm.
The fact that they know that means that they got to look at the code or at least the structure. And if they looked at the code and the structure, does that not also mean they could look at the net code and use that to build their own? So you don't need Nintendo Online. You could just use this free service and use your own home internet and connect and play with people for free.
You could probably do that because people have been doing that with emulators on their computers for decades.
Exactly. But now we might be able to do that with the better net code.
Well, I'd be hard pressed to say that Nintendo has better netcode.
I'm sure they have better
Um,
netcode than what came with the emulator. Like netcode for the emulators typically isn't that great.
I don't know. I've seen some really good ones actually. A lot of the emulators and things were kind of adapting the GGPO netcode, if you know what that
Yep,
is,
yep.
which is actually really good.
Well, what
Much
is
better than Nintendo's.
for the audience? If you want to go ahead and talk about what GGPO is.
Okay, so basically, GGPO started out as kind of like another alternative to Chimera and Fightcade, if people know what that is. They're basically, you could go onto this online server and you could host games to play. Um, Usually it was used for fighting games or beat 'em ups because those were the ones that people wanted to play at the time, but you could play, Mario Brothers 3 if you wanted on Chimera. And then they came out with Fightcade second, which was a better server than Chimera, but it restricted what you could play to mostly CPS2 style games with some CPS3. Then GGPO came out, and it's like an even better version of that.
Do you
And
do you know
pros use GGPO.
do you know why I like GGPO?
Why is that?
Because it uses rollback in netcode.
Yes,
There's a
it does.
huge difference in netcode that uses rollback and netcode that doesn't. Like
Hmm.
Mortal Kombat 10 is a game that does not use rollback in its netcode. So if you're playing a game and it gets laggy, the entire match slows down and your inputs
Yep.
are now different. Timing for combos is now different because you have to put them in slower based
Yeah.
on the lag. So if you have an intermittent connection issue, doing combos in a game without rollback sucks. With rollback, you get some visual glitching and teleportation and bad connections, but your inputs work the way they're supposed to, and that's a bigger deal to me.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you covered the technical aspect of it because obviously I know what GGPO is, but the actual coding aspect of it, I'm not that familiar with because we all know I'm not a technical person.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
So I guess we could rename this topic to Nintendo unofficially endorses emulator use.
oh my
To be
gosh.
fair, any system that supports backward compatibility, like Xboxes that could play earlier Xbox games, things like that. To be fair, it's always under an emulator. Like the emulator is just the piece of software that runs the older ROMs. Put it that way.
Right.
What makes this case so specifically hilarious is it wasn't an emulator they made. They took a fan project and just
Yeah.
transplanted it into the Switch. That's why this is so interesting.
So before I move on to the second thing, I again I want to mention the online is not very favorable to fans. Like you don't have to play this video, but just to show how much people hate this online. Just look at the upvotes versus downvotes.
All right, let me pull it up. Pause it.
And this is the official Nintendo online trailer.
More games, more features, more fun.
All right, here we are. Holy crap. You see that?
Yeah,
8.5K up, but 42,000 down. Nintendo
I
is
don't.
definitely making waves with their first attempt at real online framework. Just not the right kind of waves. Holy mazzolians.
Because I think too many people have figured out that you're basically paying for nothing because online was free. It didn't get any better. They just suddenly started charging for it. The NES games you already had access to. You could just go online and download the ROM yourself instead of, buying the ROM from Nintendo.
I'm
The
like,
voice chat feature goes through the phone. It doesn't even use actual voice chat. What are you paying for?
dude, if Nintendo fanboys are hating, you know it's bad.
Like, again, I reiterate, I said this plenty of times last week, but what are you paying for? Everything is just a paywall behind things that were already free.
I think a big thing I'm seeing too in the chat is the whole lockdown on save states and save files,
Hmm.
like holding your saved content hostage with no alternative way of storing it.
No, and speaking of saving, real quick, so the cloud saves that we mentioned, that also does not work for every game, but
Right.
they delete all your cloud saves a week after your subscription is gone.
Wow. So if you have to pay like a different bill and you can't,
Hmm.
for whatever reason, you can't, maybe you lost your job and you can't afford Nintendo. Let's say you've had that Switch for like 6 years and you've played every game on the Switch and you've got all the save data on the cloud. You're telling me that if you lapse for a week, your 6 years of gaming is now deleted.
Gone.
Wow. Oh my God. Nintendo, what are you doing, Nintendo? Come on. Reggie, you were meant for so much more than this.
It's like I tell Hidden Spike Trap all the time whenever we're playing online games that she's not played before and she comments on being bad at the game. I tell her there's a difference between being new and being bad. They're not the same thing. Nintendo, you're bad at this.
I mean, you have to give them a little bit of leeway, not just an ounce of leeway, because this is their first big foray into the online platforming. But it doesn't
It's
buy you an out for all of this. Like, this is everything that could be wrong with an online platform, they've pretty much done.
but see, it's not their first foray into online, it's their first foray into paid online.
Right.
The Switch had online, the Wii U had online, the 3DS has online, but they were all free. So even if it's $20 for a year, which by all means is not very much, you're still paying for features that should be free.
Yeah, I don't know. What do you think's going to come of this? I feel like they're going to have to make some concessions. I mean, I'm sure the market overseas is just as upset about this as we in America are. I know in America we get pretty whiny about things, but I can't imagine this is completely just okay and just turn the other cheek overseas.
Well, from the features that Nintendo have offered, there's special features that they mentioned were always going to be bad because Nintendo never does sales, very rarely.
Right.
They're online. They're not going to have servers, so that's not going to be fixed. The NES Classic Library, that's broken. They're not going to be able to fix that. You can't. The phone app, that's just classic Nintendo. They're not going to fix that. The only thing I could see them is that they're just going to bank on the fact that more of their first party games are going to need this and they're going to hope people buy into it.
So they're taking the peripheral route like they did with all their peripherals. Like you need this peripheral to play this and such
Yeah.
and so forth. Except
I
now it's
mean, it's
just online.
Nintendo.
Wow.
I mean, I love you as a company, but you're bad at online. You're really bad at online.
I'm glad that this is happening though, because of the waves it makes and the other industry giants that have to pay attention to it, because it's like it shows that as gamers we are willing to stand up against things we don't like, especially coming so soon after all the drama with EA Battlefield 5 and then the loot box fiasco before that. You're really starting to see a trend of gamers really influencing the industry. Like, look, if you make shit, we're not going to buy it. If you put out services that we have to pay for and don't give us value, we're going to bitch about it. And if anything, I hope that what's happening with Nintendo's online service is making other companies look and be a little bit more reserved in how greedy they want to be. That's the one positive that could come out of this.
See, I even have to go so far as to say I don't think it's necessarily Nintendo being greedy. I think, again, they're just bad at this. They just thought that what they had was worth the price tag, and it's not.
Fair enough.
But the example I always give is the Xbox One. If you remember when they were first announcing it, the huge backlash it got, it was so bad they had to completely redesign how they were going to do it.
I wonder if Nintendo is willing to go back to the drawing board. I mean, with all the stuff they have lined up, I imagine it's a pretty big ask for them.
I doubt it.
You think they'll just push through?
I think they will, because they know their games like Mario Kart and Smash Brothers are going to have online play. You're going to have to pay for it.
That's unfortunate.
I agree. And even sadder, I actually see some people defend Nintendo Switch Online, and I don't know why you would.
Wow. I mean, even some of the most diehard Nintendo fanboys are against this, from what I understand.
Yeah, they are. Because, again, you're paying for things that should be free. You're paying for things that were free. There's really no defending it. Just because...
We do kind of live in a world where people buy bottles of water, which the Earth is 75% of.
Now, for what it's worth, different bottled waters taste differently, and usually they're better than sink water. So
yeah,
there's a quality there.
But that's not the Earth's fault. That's just the city's fault. Like, I would never drink city water. It's so bad.
Fair enough. Well, then this isn't the gaming industry's fault. This is Nintendo's fault.
That's a good analogy. I'll take that.
Okay, so next topic. So it's probably no surprise that Sony have announced this new system of theirs, because they have a history of copying other companies. But now we have a PlayStation Classic, which it's like the NES and SNES Classic, but for PlayStation.
Okay, so Sony just looked at Nintendo and they're like, wow, you mean we could just sell the old again and make more money again? And they went with it. Look at that size. Is that like actual size?
Yes, it's very small.
So, question.
Mm-hmm.
Are the games... How do you put the games on there?
They're already on the system.
All right, so it's one of the pre-built in 20 of the best titles.
Now, I'll be fair and say Nintendo didn't start doing that. Technically, Atari did it and Sega did it, but they weren't very good. Nintendo's the first one that did a good one. So I think that's why Sony has chosen now to copy it.
So Sony's including an HDMI cable to connect to your TV. That's actually really good. I like that. Virtual memory card. So I guess it's like a memory card that's built into the system.
Yeah, imagine these games won't take up that much memory. They never really did. Just memory cards were really small back then.
And the original controller, which I liked. I always like Sony's controllers. I think they're the most ergonomic out of all the big companies. I preferred the Sony controllers to Xbox by a long shot, and way better than Steam.
Definitely. The only controller I can think of offhand that I like better than the PlayStation is the GameCube controller.
All right. Relive the moments that changed gaming forever. 20 of the best games from the original console, including, all right, Final Fantasy VII, Tekken 3, R4, Wild Arms. Did you ever play Wild Arms?
See, I never have. I want to play it. I remember we discussed it on one of the podcasts that we did way back,
You
but I've
should
never gotten
play it.
around to it.
You should play Wild Arms like soon. It's a good game. So it looks like it's going to be coming December 3rd for $100. I don't know that I would buy it for 100. I mean,
I wouldn't.
I'm going to take a note from Nintendo and just emulate it.
Oh my gosh. I mean, you can technically do that with the NES and SNES classics. Just buy them. Well, you don't really have to buy them, but if you do, you can hack the games in yourself.
Look how small it is.
Yeah. I mean, the NES and SNES classics were very small as well.
A compatible USB AC adapter, not included, is required to use this console.
Yeah.
So they're not giving you the required cables. What kind of world do we live in where now it's become so normal? Like it started in the multimedia industry with selling TVs that don't come with the HDMI cables and stuff. Like you can't just buy something and have it, as Todd Howard would put it, just work. You have to buy that thing and then go to aisle 3 and stock up on cables, adapters and supplies.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I hate that we moved into that kind of world.
I do too, because, I mean, I remember back in the NES days, you bought the system, it came with 2 controllers and a game.
I'll tell you exactly why I hate it specifically is because all in all, it just makes everything more expensive. Because if they were packaging the cables themselves, that means they would be mass manufacturing them. They would have to put them in every box. And when you mass manufacture it, you could put it in for like pennies on the dollar. But if you have to go to aisle 3 and pick up that same cable, even if you buy online, the markup on cables is ridiculously high.
It is. I know Nintendo did that with some of their handhelds too, where they didn't even come with charge cables. So, what do? You can't charge the system to use it. I don't know. I think they feel like if they added the cables to it, they would up the price on it. But setting it at a $99 price tag without the cable looks cheaper, even though it's not.
That's fair. They got to pull off that 99 that it's not $100 but it's $100 marketing tactic.
Yeah, it's that advertising you always see. Just $100. This not included.
Right. It's so dumb. I hate that we live in that kind of world. So are you going to be getting the PlayStation Classic?
With only 5 games announced and only 2 of them that interest me, and I already own one of them, probably not at this point. The only way I would get it is if the games that are on it are worth the price.
I'll tell you.
Like Final Fantasy VII, you can get for $20, $25, but I already have it. Wild Arms, I could probably get for $20 to $30, maybe even less. So it depends.
When I'm at the house, I'll just emulate the games. I don't really care.
Hmm.
The only way I could see this being really beneficial is if you have one of those cars with kids, with a TV in the back, you could easily wrap this up and take it to go. And because it's running on USB AC, you could even run that directly into your car battery without having too much of a drain, as opposed to having the full system. That would be like the one situation I could justify buying it for myself. But spoiler alert, I don't have an expensive car. I prefer riding motorcycle. And part 2, probably more importantly, I don't have kids, so I don't see myself buying this. It is cool.
I don't
though.
recommend that you try this on a motorcycle either.
I'm tempted.
You can play Road Rash while you're on your motorcycle. There you go.
Oh, okay, just have it tied up to the handlebars for the control.
Sure, and as you're riding along cars, you just like hit them with a crowbar or something. It's like I'm playing Road Rash. I got to do this for motion
I'm
control.
sorry, officer. I had to go left, but there were people there. I had to go left.
Oh, you're not supposed to stop for the officers in Road Rash. We've already learned that. You're supposed to hit them too.
Oh, that's where I made the mistake then.
Yeah. So, the thing about this is because the NES and SNES Classics sold so well, I think this will sell too.
I'm sure it'll sell.
I'm kind of with you. Most of the stuff that they're going to have on there, I probably already own, or I could just emulate. But a lot of people still don't do emulation. It'll sell.
It'll be good for couch gamers that maybe don't know enough about building media center PCs to get started. I mean, $100 would be cheaper than building a media center PC. It's like at that price point, though. If I'm being honest with you, the best thing that I could see doing is getting a Raspberry Pi and installing the arcade OS for Raspberry Pi, and then you've got something that's like the size of a credit card that you just plug into the TV. And that'd end up being a little bit cheaper and give you more games. But again, it comes down to what people are aware of. Most people aren't aware that you can buy a Raspberry Pi and play 1,000 games from a billion different systems on it on your TV. They don't know that, and for them, the PlayStation Classic would be a better option.
Well, to be fair, if you total all the games up that's going to have and figure out how much they're actually worth, $100 is probably cheap for all of them.
It probably is, but we live in a world where emulation is king, so it's hard.
Although, as Evil Moo Chan says, he wants the Lunar games. Now, we don't know all 20 games yet, but most likely those aren't going to be it because those are actually pretty expensive games.
Well, plus, I was going to say something about multi-CD games, but Final Fantasy VII was like the biggest multi-CD, and it's on there. I'll tell you, I would like to see Legend of Dragoon.
Yeah.
And I would like to see Twisted Metal 2.
Ooh, Twisted Metal. I haven't played that in a long time.
I mean, a Twisted Metal 2 you could just carry like in a back pocket and run around with that. That would be fun.
I would like to see one of the Mega Man Legends games. I think that would be good to be on there.
I didn't actually like Mega Man Legends. Does that make me a bad person?
That's a shame.
That's the 3D ones, right?
Yeah, it is. It's unusual for me who does not like shooters usually. I loved Mega Man.
Yeah, they just weren't for me. But do we have any word on when they're going to announce the other 15 games? Because we got the 5.
I have not seen anything, and I mean, this is PlayStation's official website. I assume it will be listed here first. Just looking at the 5 that they've already chosen, that $100 price tag's not worth it yet, but they're not, they're not bad games by any means, but $100, the other 15 need to be something good.
And again, those 5 games were Final Fantasy VII, Tekken 3, R4, Ridge Racer 4, Jumping Flash, and Wild Arms. I never played Jumping Flash. I played the rest of them.
Yeah, I've never played Jumping Flash either. I actually don't even know what that one is. Apparently, even Moo Chan does.
Yeah, so even Moo Chan is really looking forward to that Jumping Flash on the $100 mini Sony.
I will say, if they add one of the Lunar games to this, it's gonna sell out because those are hard to get games.
Well, I mean, if it was just Lunar, right, and nothing else, they would still sell the console.
If it was both Lunar games, maybe. Because you can actually get the non-collector's edition Lunar for about $40 in really good shape. But if you want the collector's editions like we got, it's going to be closer to $200.
But do you really think that they're going to announce something like another big title? Because it almost feels like they were putting their best foot forward. You know what I mean? Like if they're going to announce games and they wanted to announce 5 games, wouldn't they pick the 5 most enticing games to show us? Like maybe the other 15 are going to be games.
Not necessarily, because they might have to go through licensing issues to get certain games. They may want to show off a little bit more variety to start with. Like, we got your RPG stuff, we got your fighting stuff, we got your racing stuff.
That's true. They may be going to cover as many bases as possible, not necessarily each niche. That's a good point.
And yes, Evil Mumu-chan, there are non-collectors editions of Lunar. The collector's one I'm talking about comes with the big thick book and the map and all the extra features. There are ones that are just the game.
Fair enough.
Okay, so third topic. I expect this to be pretty short.
That'd be topic 5 on the listing over there.
Well, okay. Third of my topics, topic 5 there. So I've been paying attention to Smash Brothers leaks lately. And obviously you see every kind of character leaked, whether it's from Rhythm Heaven, whether it's from Twooey, just the most random things you could possibly imagine.
Right.
And all the leakers have been kind of fighting over, no, my info's correct, no, mine is. And 99.9% of them all turn out to be false.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me if the companies have gotten smart and wised up and know that they can't keep things secret, so they just have, like, people they pay to leak bad information just so that people don't know what to believe. I could see that being a case.
That's possible, actually. Though I will say, Nintendo usually does a fairly decent job keeping Smash Brothers under wraps, because what they usually do with theirs for their first-party characters, they have a very small team work on this first-party character, and then another small team work on this one, and they don't collaborate.
So they're super compartmentalized on it.
They're super compartmentalized, usually on Smash Brothers. So out of all the leaks, obviously most of them have been canned by this point because the game's coming out in just a little over 2 months. But there was one leak that came out about 2 months ago that so far has been mostly right. We still have a couple of things not confirmed, but
Is this
one of the things...
Is this the same leaker who originally came out talking about the characters from Metroid?
A lot of them actually mentioned Ridley being in the game. People have been saying Ridley was going to be in since Smash 4, so...
Oh, okay.
This is the one that first called Simon Belmont correct. And, it said other things are going to be, like Isabelle was going to be in the game. She wasn't going to be an Echo Fighter. Nobody knew about K. Rool, so that one was actually a surprise. But one of the most interesting choices that he's mentioned was actually this, saying Ken was going to be in the game.
Hold on.
And this is such a strange choice, but then this picture popped up just the other day. And so far, nobody has been able to prove this is fake.
Yeah, because there's heavy artifacting on it, and there's artifacting around Ken as well. I don't know if you could see... Well, whoops. There we go. I don't know if you could see the artifacting on the stream. I got it zoomed in about as much as I can zoom it in, but you could see artifacting, like JPEG artifacting around it, and it's around Ken perfectly. So if this is a fake, someone did a really good job of faking
What
it.
also has some credentials going for it is that you can see this is the debug mode. Because you see all that little text data on the right there?
Yep, I see that.
So whoever actually leaked this, which, it's usually just random 4chan people or random people on Reddit. If this is fake, this is one of the most convincing fakes that I've seen. But because one of the only leakers still credible left has said Ken is coming, people are believing this.
Well, do you think it's... I mean, I could see where it's possible. Like, we have the whole Simon and Richter thing. I mean, this could just be the same thing with Ryu.
Oh, yeah. They're expecting him to be an Echo Fighter of Ryu, but interestingly enough, like, people are comparing everything. They've compared the size of the characters. They fit. they've compared even the clipping of the character's feet, and that fits. It looks legit. Like, I think we're getting Ken in this game. And if this guy happens to be correct, the other stuff he said we're supposed to be getting Incineroar, which is, one of the starters from 7th gen. Nobody cares. We're supposed
Sorry,
to be getting,
Pokemon fans.
like,
I'm with you though. I'm old Gen. Gen 1 and
not
2.
that Incineroar is terrible, but, Sun and Moon really just... a lot of people didn't care.
I'm sorry, Arcana.
So, he's also said we're supposed to be getting another Square Enix character.
Any idea of what it is?
He has not said who it is.
All right.
And he said that in some form or another, there's going to be Minecraft content in the game.
Interesting.
He has not confirmed if it's going to be a character or not, but there's going to be something regarding Minecraft.
Do we have anything from Microsoft in Smash Brothers right now?
Currently, no. Tons of people were petitioning for Banjo to be in the game. He was, in fact, one of the highly requested characters from the character ballot.
Oh, I would love Banjo-Kazooie.
Yeah, a lot of people would like Banjo-Kazooie. But this is actually causing issues because if Minecraft potentially got a character, it'd be Steve, obviously.
If Minecraft got a character, that opens the window to say, why not Banjo-Kazooie?
Well, that's the issue there. People feel like if we were going to get a Microsoft rep, it would be just one. I mean, because right now, we do only have the one Square Enix rep. We only have 2 Capcom reps, unless, Ken is in there.
It would be they need to have Banjo-Kazooie instead. If any of this is to believe, they need to scrap it and bring Banjo-Kazooie because they have done such a disservice to Banjo-Kazooie by turning it into a racing game. I would like to see him come back in some form that's positive.
Well, he is, again, the most requested Microsoft character by far. I mean, I think a lot of people that aren't even Microsoft fans want Banjo and Kazooie in this game. So, if Minecraft actually got a rep, I think that would make a lot of people mad because they know we're not going to get Banjo.
Fair enough. What else does he have on this leak list?
So, because the game has already... It's like 2 months and 2 weeks about from coming out. Most of the stuff that he already had on the list is already been shown off. Again, the Simon the Richter thing, the Spirits potential adventure mode, so much of the music, things like that. Most of it's already been revealed. So the only things we have left is Ken, if this is legit, Incineroar, somebody from Square Enix, and something from Minecraft. That is all that is left. And the chances of us not getting another Smash Brothers Direct before December is pretty low. And I went back and I did some research on the past Smash Brothers games, and Nintendo doesn't always save their big reveals for the end. They usually do those right away.
I feel like they're going to have to choose something fairly positive just after seeing the backlash from the whole Animal Crossing thing. I feel like they're going to have something. Maybe Incineroar would be enough, but just something that people can chew on that makes them forget the Animal Crossing thing.
I mean, Incineroar's not even the Gen 7 Pokemon people want that I've seen. Not that he doesn't have fans, but they wanted actually one of the other starters instead, or even a lot of people don't want another Pokemon rep because there are so many.
Yeah, and I think that's fair.
The little bit of things that are left kind of have people a bit disappointed because Nintendo has shown with the previous Smash Brothers games that we don't save the best for last. So it feels like the next 2.5 months is just going to be, yeah, that's great. Yeah, can't wait for the game. And I feel bad for Ken here because I really like Ken as a character, but knowing that he's just going to be a clone character, I can't really get excited for that.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, the echoes... it doesn't have like the same draw to it. Like even with the whole Simon Richter thing, I kind of consider it just one character. I'm not looking at it like two new characters.
Yeah, they don't have enough differences to really make them worth playing both characters, at least not in my opinion. It's nice to get them in the game for more people that want them because Richter is probably more well known than Simon at this point because of Symphony of the Night. But the Echo characters themselves really just seem to be like, let's throw this in there to appease this fan base.
Well, I guess the one case I would use them in is if you really are on a kick with a specific character and you're playing nothing but that character, it gives you a little bit of variety from match to match by changing them out.
Well, I mean, it really depends on how much is different because so far from like Daisy, for example, we have only seen like two very tiny differences from Peach where it's not even worth it. It
Yeah.
seems like it's just to appease the Daisy fan base.
That's fair.
And I mean, to be fair, Ken and Ryu aren't vastly different in the Street Fighter games. So I know there's not a lot you can do there, but there's still something more than just, oh, they both throw a fireball, they both have an uppercut. I'm sure there's something you can do.
Yeah, I mean the Echo characters really to me are just like a step above skin change.
Pretty much.
And that's okay. I'm okay with that.
I will be interested to see if he's right about this. Now, the only thing, though, is that he did say the few things that he knows left may not be all, but he doesn't know more than. So there's still that potential to get something else.
Guess I'll be keeping
but
my eyes open.
there's still the potential, but since the last two Smash Brothers games, again, didn't really save any big information for last, I think the last character we got in Brawl was Olimar, which is like. I mean, that's great for the Pikmin fan base, but he's not really. I don't know. He pulls Pikmin out of the ground, he throws them.
I'm okay with that though. I like the Pikmin.
It's not that he's a bad character or anything. It's just, I don't know. It's one of those choices. It's like Duck Hunt Dog. It's not that it's a bad character. It's just
They appeal
I
to a
don't
very
know.
specific audience. Put it
It
that
doesn't
way.
feel like it fits in Smash Brothers, but hey, I guess we have Mr. Game and Watch, and I play him. So what do I know?
Yep, this is true. So what do we got on Mega Man news? Or
Okay,
okay.
so this is one quick thing on Mega Man 11, and I mentioned this to you earlier. This is the worst thing I've heard about the game.
Yeah, you've
So
got me
far-
scared.
Just about everything has been positive.
Right.
But this is one awful, awful thing that just it makes me so sad.
You're getting me worked up here. All right. What's the news?
So in Mega Man 11, you can no longer jump through the boss doors.
That makes the game unplayable.
It's the worst news I've ever heard.
Mega Man 11 omits a feature that involved boss doors and is causing a stir. In past games, approaching a boss door that raises upward as you draw near would push the blue helmeted hero through the door and into the other side. This meant you could jump at the door, and I remember that because I would always do that.
I did too.
During that freeze frame, you'd stick at the top, and then the thing would go, and it. I know it's dumb and it's small, but it just gave you that that quick burst of I've executed something, and you can watch it transition as it goes.
We all did it. I mean, of course, you have those people that slid through the door, but I don't associate with them.
No, those are the people who put the milk in before the cereal.
I agree. You have to jump through the doors, although now you can't.
Wow.
Like, I thought you were redeeming yourselves with this one, Capcom, but no. No, you've ruined the game. I can't play it anymore.
You know what
I
would be
couldn't-
hilarious is if they actually do go back and add in the freezing you in animation so that you could jump through the doors again.
I mean, it's got to be such a minor change for them. Why not add this? It's so iconic.
Like, and I know this is just for anyone who's listening, and make this clear. This is obviously like a satire thing. It's not that huge of a deal, but in joking about it, I want them to add it back in.
I do too. I can't even bring myself to play the demo because this feature's not in the game.
I mean, even when you pick your levels, like we saw, it has the same retro style boss screen with the band, the big band in the background, and then the stars behind it, the boss up front with the name, short animation. So yeah, let's get freeze jumping back in, guys.
Yeah, so speaking of gamers uniting to change something for the good, we need to change this.
Stop everything you're doing. Contact Capcom. Send them Twitter. Send them emails. Get them to put the freeze jump and boss doors back. This is the utmost importance.
I thought you understood us, Capcom. I thought you did.
I guess
You're
after,
doing so good.
You know what? You know what it was? Maybe it was Capcom Vancouver was working on the freeze door functionality.
Oh my gosh. Yes, they had that one little task relegated to them.
And now it's not going to be done.
Well, they just lost most of their pre-orders, didn't they?
Yeah, I suppose they did. But you shouldn't be pre-ordering in 2018 anyways. Stop pre-ordering games. Don't be like me. I pre-ordered 76. Don't do it.
I mean, unless it comes with some kind of special pre-order bonus. I could kind of see that. Like, hey, get the soundtrack CD if you pre-order.
Yeah,
okay,
I can,
well, it's
yeah,
the same
maybe.
price, might as well.
I can maybe make some concessions there, but
Yeah, but if you're not getting anything extra, don't bother.
so rest in peace all the studios, rest in peace the gaming YouTube in name only. It's still there, just it's under YouTube. I almost feel like this whole thing with YouTube was just a big marketing stunt just to get attention to themselves. Like, hey, we're adding new features to YouTube. This is just a new way of announcing that. And then
It's definitely possible. Like, we listen to you. You don't like YouTube gaming, but you like its features. Here you go.
Yep. Rest in peace, all the studios between the Telltale Games and Capcom Vancouver. Hopefully, all those guys and gals can find some new jobs and get resettled, maybe in the games industry, maybe not. Then, of course, with all your news today, we got a pretty good variety, I think.
Rest in peace, jumping through the boss doors.
Rest in peace. We need to find a GIF image of that and just like spam our Discord server with like Mega Man jumping through doors with the freeze frame. That's what we need to do.
You know, maybe I should stream myself playing all 10 of the original Mega Man games before this comes out.
Just do a 10-hour stream of a looping video where it's just him jumping through the door with a
could do that.
hashtag make it happen, Capcom.
I could do that.
In fact, if you guys want to talk about anything we've discussed today, maybe share your opinions and get involved on the conversation, come on into our Discord. That's going to be discord.fortiscoregaming.com. Links down below and on the screen as well. You can reach us on Twitter at FortisCore. And you have 3 ways of supporting us if you choose to do so. You could either subscribe on Twitch for $5 a month or Prime if you've got the Twitch Turbo, I guess now. You can subscribe with that to support us monthly, or you could go to Patreon for $1 a month and support us that way. Buy us a beer every now and then. But the most important way you can support us, of course, is to just join our Discord server and be a part of our community. We want friends.
And go out there and tell Capcom you want to jump through the boss door.
Yes, petition Capcom for jumping through the boss door. In any event, I am Frosthaven. This is the Utility Man. And this was Warp Stage 3. We'll see you next time. Saturdays, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Have a good night, everybody.
See you later.